All right. Hello. What's happening, people? So, today is officially day one of shooting for exam day, and here's our illustrious director, Mr. Vyom Malhotra. But basically, before we jumped into shooting, I wanted to sit down and kind of just have a conversation about what it is we're trying to do. What's the story we're trying to tell? What have we been working on for the past? I guess seriously we've been working on it for the past like 3 months, but I would say this has been a work in progress since like the first time you showed me the script.
We've been thinking about it for
Like a
longer
year,
than 3-4 months.
like a year, almost 2 years. The very first time you showed me the script was like back in
It was 2 years ago.
Yeah. So since then, and then we've had conversations about it, that's interesting. Oh, what do you think about this? But it's all only come to fruition very recently. So, what is it that we're trying to do? What is the stories we're trying to tell?
So this project's been, like, the story especially has been a pretty personal one for me. And I think, like, a lot of us actually, like, because it's super relatable, but also it's not really a story with, like, a beginning, middle, or end. It's more of a character story.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the characters, and it's about the depth of characters that the people you see around you when you're on campus, they aren't just studying, they aren't just like playing, they're real people. And this has just been an effort to show the real person behind that guy who's walking around with his textbooks.
Yeah, it's kind of like the idea that everyone has a story, and this is like putting the camera on one story and zooming into it and trying to understand what's going on. I think especially given where we go to school at Waterloo, which is a great school, but it's an intensive environment. We're constantly under stress, and a different sort of stress than perhaps other schools feel. When you have co-ops to worry about, you have the level of education, you have all this other stuff, but I think the story it kind of transcends just that, because everyone in their life, and really any university student, has kind of felt this has had this experience to some degree or the other, right?
I would say if I had to use one word to describe what it's about, I would say the story is about acceptance. It's about accepting the characters, slowly coming to terms with how it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think a lot of this has been such an interesting process to work on, as working with your best friend is always like super fun, but then to work in the capacity of something I care about is acting, and then to see him really take over the role as director and yet still be able to offer ideas and inputs and how we want it. It's like the medium through which we tell the story is as important as the story in some ways. This is both of our first forays into film, right?
Definitely.
Seriously, at least, my history is theater, and it's so different because in theater, you guys can look at whatever you want on stage, and we have to make a compelling argument for it.
Yeah.
But with film, the challenge, I think, is like
it's the subtleties.
The subtleties. You see what we want you to see. So then the question is like, what the heck do we want to show them, right?
Yeah.
And to tell this story, I think particularly has been really interesting because there's so much you want to show, but like you have to find the right ideas, right?
And I think Sid said it the best when he said that I don't know, when I wrote something on the script, I don't know why I wrote it, and it's like together we're exploring why I might have written it.
Yeah.
Which has been so fun. I think like working with your friends is really fun. Like, I know there's probably people who say a bunch of shit against it, but it's fun, literally. Like, it's just bouncing ideas off of each other, just having fun, trying to get each other's vision out there. Like, I'm sure we each have a vision of what we want it to look like, and it's basically just bouncing it off of each other and just trying to get it to coagulate together.
Yeah, trying to pull the truth of the story out of like all these different streams.
Yeah.
Everyone, Hugh has this vision of it. I have a vision of it. Vyom has a vision of it, and obviously Vyom's is the driving vision. But like we all are trying to, we're trying to pull the meta story out of it. Like, what really are we trying to talk about? And it's so cool because like it's kind of like you're back in English class, right? You think like, oh, Shakespeare, why did Shakespeare write this? And back then I was like, oh my god, like he didn't.
No way he didn't think of this.
But then you realize like great storytelling is great storytelling because the writer doesn't actually necessarily know why they're writing what they're writing. And I do fundamentally believe this is a great story. Like, I actually believe in it. If I didn't, I would have told him. So to be in this situation where, you know, we're trying to figure out what was the subconscious process you were going through and you know, how does that contribute to the story is,
While I was writing, or...
Well, yeah, while you were writing, and now when we're trying to portray it on film, to take the words on the page and make a compelling, you know, story out of it.
Well, to be honest, personally, I've never been one for forcing myself to do something. So, like,
Well, that's
I never...
for damn certain.
I never fucking sat down and was like, alright, now I'm gonna write the rest of this. I'd literally be just doing, like, sitting around, listening to music or whatever, and something would come into my head and I would need to write it down. I think the direction process has been similar for me. Like I know our producer, Sabrina, she's been on my, like, case, which I really appreciate about, like, getting shot lists, about getting, like, plan out your scenes. But I feel like I did that for, like, maybe the first 2 scenes. And then I was sort of like, I know it in my head and it just comes out when it comes out. Like, I can't sit on my table and force I can, but it just doesn't feel right. So it hasn't been I don't think I got up this term and was like, yo, let's make a fucking film.
Yeah.
I think it was more of like, we're making a film. Like, it was more, I don't see why not. Instead of having to convince myself for why.
And you know what? The other thing I think is really cool. Like, here's a cool thing about being a young, creative person. And especially for us, I think, in this, is that we have no experience. We have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah.
But the benefit of that is we're not necessarily, you know, we're not slave to the same things that maybe we would have been if we'd gone to film school and stuff. And I don't mean that, like, oh, we'll do it better. I mean, like, it's kind of like this, right? We were talking about engineering, or what we're actually in. Some of the most fun stuff I've learned in engineering, I didn't learn in school. I learned it outside when I didn't have the preconceptions, when I didn't, like, know this stuff.
For sure.
So with this process, you know, this is very, you know, I don't want to go so far as to say it's indie or anything, but, you know, we're just 2 guys.
It's very put together. It's like a cardboard box of filmmaking.
Like, we're a couple guys who had an idea and we grabbed a camera and we have no idea how this is going to turn out, but we're hungry. Right? Like, we want to tell a good story. And
hungry like the wolf.
Yeah, like, this story is paramount to us. Anyway, we got to run off to shoot pretty soon, but, you know, any last thoughts, director?
Watch the movie.
Yeah, watch the movie. This will, I don't know where this will fit into which vlog.
And pray it doesn't rain next weekend for us.
Pray it doesn't rain, honestly. I'll pray today, bro. I'm really excited. You know, it's been a while since I think either of us have been in this creative space.
Yeah, it's definitely been a while.
And all of a sudden I woke up today and I had this energy that I haven't had in so long. Because it's like...
I've been waiting for this day for years, honestly.
I've, like, since this term has started, you know, I've had to push it back and forth. Like, I've had to push the film back because I'm like, I can't focus on that right now. But to be here on shoot day, like, I'm ready to go. I want to...
Like, without sounding too cheesy, I feel like this term, everything just lined up for me to be able to do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, I didn't have a big hand in this. Like, it just lined up.
Yeah.
And the opportunity was there and I took it.
I've honestly never seen you, like, this hungry either. I've never seen you, like, this driven to do something. Which, you know... I can't think of a better thing to be driven to do than tell great stories. So, hopefully this gives you guys a better idea of what's going on, what we're doing. We've been working on this project for a while now, and we're trying to tell the story that we see around us.
Wait, before we go though, what do you think about it? Like, what do you think about it when I said it's like more of a character story instead of like a beginning, middle, and end? I
think that's entirely true. I think, like, it's not about the circumstances. that's what I think. Like when you say it's not like a beginning, middle, end, it's a character story. Like in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, what does that really mean? And I think what that means is it's not the circumstances that matter. It's what's happening in the hearts and in the souls and in the minds of the characters. And obviously the circumstances play a large role in that, but you can almost decouple it from the circumstance and the story still is true. You know, it's a story about trying to figure out what you want out of life.
Yeah.
And figuring and accepting your own identity and accepting loss, and you know, it's about so many things because that's how life is. Right? None of us wake up one day and we're like, okay, today my life is going to be about understanding myself.
There's confusion.
There's confusion.
Turmoil,
there's anger. There's turmoil. There's loss. There's gain. There's happiness. You know, there's meaninglessness, and there's more meaning than you can imagine.
Yeah.
And
it's just an effort to create a more rounded character.
Yeah.
And more rounded.
It's like every day you're just trying to know yourself better.
Yeah.
You're just trying to live a little bit closer to what you want to be and also what you are. And
there's a little bit of disconnect in that.
Yeah.
And that's part of the natural process.
And that's, I think, you know, exactly, it's part of the natural process. And I think that's what the story is in my mind in a lot of ways. It's about a guy who's trying to contend with the world around him by figuring out himself, and he's torn between who he wants to be and
we
who he
really
thinks.
sound like movie critics right
Yeah, I know,
now.
honestly. What's that?
Actually, it's just about a stupid kid.
Yeah, honestly, it's about two guys who were like tired of engineering, and they're like, bro, let's do something else.
I mean, if you want to see it like that, I say that's a good way to see it too.
All right, well, cut out. So anyway, we were just about to go. So this is day one shooting of our passion project, exam day. So hopefully you guys have a better idea of what we're up to. Catch you next time. Take one.